Good evening. Today we're starting Metroid Prime Hunters, which is a game that is between Prime 1 and Prime 2, which I realized that I skipped. So that was a bit of an oops that I'm hopefully going to correct. Streaming DS games is a bit awkward. Please bear with me if things are challenging. The secret to ultimate power lies in the Olympic cluster. This repeating neural thread, originating from an uncharted region of the Tetra Galaxy known as the Olympic cluster, was recently intercepted and translated by Federation empaths. Okay, that's a thing apparently. We just have empaths. Rogue contract. Number 1, discover the meaning behind this mysterious telepathic message. 2, if the ultimate power can be secured, ensure Federation control. 3, if the power cannot be secured, ensure that it remains secret or destroy it. Potential complications include that this operation must remain covert. The Tetra Galaxy is outside of Federation-controlled space, and the Olympic cluster is a wild and uncharted region. While we have kept our communications classified, we know that other entities have intercepted the thread. The lure of ultimate power will be irresistible to many. Disposition of rival interests is presumed hostile. Uploading known coordinates. Scanning Olympic cluster. So I can like, oh, this is cool. I can like look into the sun and it blinds me. I love all the little like doodads and gizmos that are in DS games at times. Maybe it seems like this is where we want. It seems like this is where we want to go. Also, if necessary, I can swap whether the top and bottom screens are the prominent one. Yeah, I've never played this game before. That's not entirely true. I played the demo a fair amount. Okay, so I tap the touchscreen to jump. It's tank controls on the D-pad. I can just hold down the left shoulder button and it automatically fires. Activate scan visor. Tap and hold the button centered at the bottom of the touchscreen to activate the scan visor. Door. A weak energy shield surrounds the door to keep out roaming creatures. Any weapon will open this door. Yeah, so I remember the big gimmick of this game was like you could get the weapons from all the other hunters and like swap between them. You can tell this game is pre-MP2 because it has a better scan visor. I actually prefer the Metroid Prime 2 scan visor, where like the whole object is tinted rather than having an icon. I presume that's what you mean. I prefer that. Gosh, this would have blown my mind as a kid, I feel like. No wonder I was so enamored with the demo. This switch can unlock a door or power an object. Star Beam being automatic fire is gonna take some getting used to. But given the control scheme, it's probably for the best. Psycho-Bit version 1, a levitating spherical sentry droid equipped with 360-degree sensors and a low-level teleportation device. The basic silver model fires an energy blast, whereas the advanced green model features a heavy-duty gun powered by a nanoscale nuclear reactor. I'm not sure how I just did the charge beam. Okay, so it happens automatically. How's human controls? I mean, it's stylus, so it's surprisingly good, actually. It's no keyboard and mouse, but it's surprisingly good. Small energy replenishes 30 units of energy expended from the power suit due to battle damage. Energy has also been known to have a rejuvenating effect on alien technology and physiology. Gosh, it must suck to be a human in this universe, because it's like, you're the only ones that don't get healed by energy. Like, you have to use, like, doctors and stuff. I think he was about to explain to me how to jump. That's not a Metroid, is it? It's kind of hard to tell at this resolution. Petrocell, harmless from a distance, this airborne creature secretes a corrosive toxin that can burn through all but the toughest materials on contact. And it's dead. And that's missiles. Brown blast shield. Analysis indicates that the blast shield is impervious to most weapons. A missile may damage it. Do I tap the missile? Yes, I do. Synergy strut. Reinforcement pillar for synergy drive. I presume this button on the bottom right is Morphball. That's fun. I like that. Presumably this is how I change which weapon I have equipped. Not gonna lie, I expected this to be way more jank than it's actually being. Gunship transmission. Warning, warning, confirmed arrival of unidentified vessel at Celestial Archives. Extreme caution is advised. This game existing and looking as good as it does on the DS makes you sad that Federation Force looks bad on 3DS. I mean, it's important to call things out when things are done poorly. Just be nice to a reasonable extent. I see a red thing on my visor over there. My radar, rather. Science Hub. Access denied. Olympic Scientific Databank severely damaged. Olympic artifacts. Artifacts are encoded with program data unique to the Stronghold portal. 3 artifacts necessary to activate portal. The door is remotely locked. Something nearby may unlock it. Artograph artifact is encoded with the spatial coordinates of a hidden chamber. Artifact Shield is a security device that protects the artifacts, can be unlocked with the proper key. Right into the action. I appreciate it. Like, yeah, you've been through the tutorial now. Show that you understand it. Shield key. When retrieved, the dynamic piece of technology will deactivate the artifact shield in the area. You retrieved an Olympic artifact. Wow, we're already getting to the artifact hunt. Your cousin failed that fight 10 times in a row and gave the game for free. Yeah, I mean, if they got frustrated then they weren't gonna have fun with it. Enter Morphball mode. To enter Morphball tunnels, tap the Morphball icon on the lower right corner of the touchscreen. Lay bombs by pressing the fire button, boost by sliding this quickly across the touchscreen or by pressing the boost button. Energy tank found. It does exactly what you think it would. I'm not sure which button is the boost button. But scribbling with the stylus seems to work. Lesser Ithrak. This nocturnal creature clings to the ceiling and is exceptionally fierce when disturbed. Now, I think it's valid to struggle finding collectibles in a Metroid game. Like, some of them are freebies and some of them are really, really, really tricky puzzles. I would try to view it less as, oh, I was a kid and thus too dumb to find them, and more, wow, despite being a kid, I was smart enough to find this many. Oh, the music has changed. That looks like a missile expansion. The blast shield is impervious to most weapons. A heavy-duty weapon may damage it. Charge beam ain't gonna do it. I'm out of missile ammo. Oh, that's the slug guy. Me already forgetting how to go into Morphball. I think I saw him in the opening scroll, and like, his thing was that he was like created in like a secret lab. Your missile capacity is increased by 10, that's nice. So he's kind of like a super prototype type creature, I presume. Ship transmission. Pilot of docked ship identified as Bounty Hunter Camden. Your warp signature was traced. Assume hostile intent. You know, I didn't pay too much attention to the opening scroll because I assumed that the game would just play it when I started. Instead of just kind of throw me right into the action. Sting larva, bioengineered with genetic material from the galaxy's most dangerous predatory insects. Camden can transform into the sting larva. This fast-moving segmented insect has a detachable, regenerating tail that hones in on its target before exploding. That sounds strictly superior to the Morphball bomb. Also, yeah, a big draw of this game was like the PvP mode. Wait, can my own missiles hit me, or is he just throwing bombs at me? Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember when I was playing the demo, the character that I enjoyed the most was the pointy red guy with the sniper rifle. Because with it, you could just one-shot other players. And he's dead. Well, he certainly tried to stop me, but he did not succeed. What's this thing? Not scannable. You retrieved an Olympic artifact, and we needed 3 to activate quote-unquote the portal. I believe that this is the door that just opened. Oh, hi. Olympic Turret version 1, a mounted gun equipped with infrared motion detector and DNA identification technology. This weapon will fire on any non-Olympic creature within its range, so they're racist. They just immediately assumed if it's not Olympic, it's hostile. Like, it's not like a whitelisted personnel, it's non-Olympic. Teleportation device not receiving power. Ship deck portal activated. Oh, is that like a checkpoint? That's kinda cool. I will save my game. No weapons to equip. I've already got 51% of my stuff, so that's kinda cool. Bioforms, lore, objects. We love a good logbook. I am right-handed, so I will continue using stylus mode right. Dual mode? Is that like dual styluses? Interesting, but I don't think I'm that bold. It's kinda cool that they just give us straight-up teleporters back to our ship, though. Yellow force field. Analysis indicates the force field is impervious to most weapons. A high-voltage weapon may damage the guard node. Okay, so specifically, I need electricity to get through that. Northwestern power conduit. This projectile-sensitive switch is used to transfer energy into the room. Northeastern, same thing. Dual mode is for full manual, no touchscreen controls. Where's the fun in that? I like how it just appeared. You retrieved an Olympic artifact. I now have all three. Long-range thermomagnetic resonance scanners indicate remote and inaccessible chambers. Use the portal to access the inaccessible. But then by definition, it's not inaccessible anymore. Stronghold portal. Teleportation device online. Step into the portal to access the inaccessible. This feels kind of like a used car sales pitch. And here we are. Kind of organic-y. This looks really good. Like, I don't remember DS games looking this good. Stronghold door. This door is synchronized with Stronghold portal security protocols. Status, minimal shielding. Ooh, cutscene. Samus always looks incredible. I definitely feel like that probably looked way cooler on... Oh shit. That probably looked way cooler on like the two screens stacked vertically. Credited version 1. Utilizing the most sophisticated Olympic cybernetics, this massive cylindrical defense mechanism features precision chemical lasers. The Credited is a key component of Olympic military defense technology, designed to safeguard the Olympics' most sacred objects. Oh, like that's his real body. Cool. Looks like a 4-phase fight. Unless I can, like, sink a bunch of missiles into it and make it, shorter than that. This was a killer app? Makes sense. Now, I definitely really wanted this game when I was young. And now that I'm less young, I can have it. I'm still young, I'm just not little. I did also kind of forget that it existed, yes. Oh, OG Avatar, thank you. I'm slightly smaller. Well, it's just that I'm smaller and more that, like, it's from an earlier stage. It's kind of funny, if that hard drive hadn't failed originally, I might not have ever made, like, the updated avatar, and I might still look like this all the time. And it's dead. It might be dead, but it's also shiny. Sorry, I'm just looking at my stylus. It's a little worn down. It's been well used. I should have scanned this before I grabbed it. Oh well. I like how Samus just touches the weird alien thing. Octolith acquired. It's an octolith, not the octolith, so... Octoliths may be the key to the ultimate power alluded to in the telepathic message. Presumably there are 8 of them. Presumably there are 7 other hunters besides myself. And presumably they each got one. Security protocol initiated. Evacuate immediately. I have 8 minutes to get away. Which, given that's the time scales the Samus usually works with, is fairly generous, I'd say. which is not receiving power. I figured it wouldn't be that easy, but I had to at least try. I believe I originally came from... which direction? This direction, maybe? I presume that's it. Heavy-duty weapons only. You know, it occurs to me that, like, I don't really have much reason to be afraid of security, because I've kind of been ripping through it from the word go. Like, why am I afraid? Yeah, I don't think that this game was designed with, like, 1080p screens in mind. It still looks remarkably good, though, I think. What's this thing? Psycho bed. Did I just go in a big circle, or does this room just strongly resemble the one that I came from? Knowing me, it could be either. Cutscene. That's a POV from very low to the ground. Guardian. Specifically designed to guard the Olympic Order, these automatons are now programmed to serve in its absence. These intelligent androids often travel in packs, attacking with energy projectiles produced by 3 small fusion generators located in the cranium. I like how it just disappeared into a man-shaped puff of smoke. And they're dead. here's my ship. Goodbye. I will save my game. And presumably take off. Yeah, mission complete. Well, that was Metroid Prime Hunters. The whole entire thing. Scanning the Olympic cluster. I still think it's I still think that it's very fun. We can just look into the sun. I wonder, can I point this at just like the center of the galaxy? I can, it just doesn't accomplish anything. Alinos. This place looks very spicy. But like, I'm orange too, so it balances out. Actually, wait, the Vario suit literally does protect me from high temperatures, so it kind of does work that way. Huh. Anyway. Alinos, the once beautiful planet of Alinos, home to the Olympic Elders, has fallen into disrepair since the explosion of the planet's core. This place looks hotter than a hot chip. I've actually unironically got hot chips in front of me. Barbecue flavor, to be precise. Magma Station. Sensors operating at 79%. Lava level stable. That implies that the lava levels might become unstable. A prospect which concerns me. Eh? Alrighty then. This good-looking lava, don't eat it, you'll die. I like how each missile expansion is 10 instead of 5. The greedy part of me, which is all of me, appreciates it. Olympic Data Shade 02. Designed to maintain data integrity indefinitely, data shades are highly resistant to tampering and decay. Scanning these packets will allow you access to our scriptures and lore. Yeah, this game is actually between Prime 1 and Prime 2. I technically should have played it, between Prime 1 and Prime 2. I forgot that it existed. I am now correcting that mistake. Luckily, I'm pretty sure that the plot elements that come up here don't come up until 3, so I'm technically still in the clear. Exposed rebar. Structural integrity of load-bearing walls has been compromised by forcible impact. There's also Metroid Prime Pinball for the DS, which is a retelling of Metroid Prime 1. So technically, you could argue that A legitimate canonical order of the Prime series is Prime Pinball, Prime Hunters, Prime 2, Prime 3, Prime 4. It's not the extended ending of Prime 3, it's the Hunters. They show up as, like, characters in 3. Technically, you could skip this and get away with it, but, like... I could also just play the game. Okay, so data shades only show up under Scan Visor. History 01. These are our last recorded messages. We depart from this place of death. If you honor our memory, do not attempt to solve the mystery of our disappearance. Well, don't worry, I don't honor your mystery. Or your death, or whatever the fuck you said. Wait, did the apples not get thrown? I did? Oh. I didn't hear them. Or feel them, apparently. I've become more powerful. You didn't hear them? Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this, because that shouldn't be a thing that is inaudible. I do this. Okay, I do hear it, it's just... I think the game was louder than the apples in that moment. I know what it was. I tried to lower the volume of the confetti specifically, but I think the confetti and the apples use the same thing. That or I'm just... That or the game's just really loud. Alright, whatever. Thank you for the apples. They'll keep doctors away. Zoomers. Thank you for the rotation. Thank you for the hydration as well. Zoomers, best known for breeding quickly and carrying diseases. Zoomers are responsible for the spread of flesh-eating bacteria on seams, resulting in the extinction of many native species. Oh, goodness gracious, that's very, very funny. Hold on, hydrating. Oh, hello there. Did you know that violence was the answer? I was just killing them on principle. Now I just gotta find my way out of here. I like how the morph ball kind of sounds like concrete sliding over concrete. Here we are. Oh, energy tank. Heck yeah, we take those. You retrieved an Olympic artifact. Sealed force field. Analysis indicates the force field is remotely locked. Something nearby may be able to circumvent the lock. I was gonna say, are these war wasps? I thought that those were from Talon 4. An aggressive flying insect that will vigorously defend its territory. The royal jelly of the war wasp queen is so highly valued that hives continue to be harvested on Ether, in spite of a shocking death toll. And then Ether is the location of Prime 2. Where, rather than blowing up the planet, I put it back together, explosively. Analysis indicates that the force field is impervious to most weapons. A weapon that fires super-cooled plasma may damage its guard node. Oh, more PvP. Battle Sarcophagus. This tomb contains the remains of Olympic General Almiok, who led the Olympic people to victory in the Tetra Border Wars 2,000 years ago. He later formed the Olympic Order of Elders. Did my power beam just have fall off? Olympic scripture. The language cannot be translated. Regrettable. Blast cap. A large mushroom that explodes on contact, emitting noxious gas. Originated on Talon 4, its spores can survive without atmosphere and have propagated throughout the galaxy on solar winds. Fiddlesticks. Binary Subscripture. The Binary Subscripture artifact contains the precise frequency of the Stronghold Portal Spectral Transporter, allowing anything within the teleportation matrix to warp from one point to another. Interesting. don't know if I can get up there. At least by going around. Atometer, or Atometer artifact, contains schematic for atomic mapping, allowing a portal to disassemble the molecular structure of anything within the teleportation matrix. Boldrum. There's a high-speed rolling robot in nearly constant motion, equipped with 2 large guns for attacking from a distance. It is equally efficient at close-quarters combat. Spire. Analysis of this creature's physiology indicates the presence of molten ferrous compounds, normally found only in a planet's core. Spire is armed with the Magmal, a weapon that loves cohesive bursts of superheated magma. He's like, no, nope, I don't want that, nope, no thank you. I choose life. Can I climb out of here? Doesn't look like it. Did I break something? Oh, here we are. Shield key has been activated. I was worried for a second, like, did I break something? Right, I can now disintegrate things, which sounds useful. And he's actually dead. And that one just lets you teleport wherever you want to go. Portal activated. Long-range thermomagnetic resonance scanners indicate remote and inaccessible chambers. Use the portal to access the inaccessible. Ship deck portal activated. This is where Spire was to shoot down at me. Okay, so I'm just up there. Let me in. We're gonna save our game, and we're gonna take a 5-minute break here. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. return. Sorry for the break running a little bit long. I ate a barbecue potato chip and I had to recover. I had to like chug water and whatnot. There's a really funny story behind why the intro movie and the game's trailer go as hard as they do. The dev team was very ambitious for this game, as can be seen, and had ideas that went far beyond what the tiny budget they got would allow for. So when deciding on ideas for more budget, they decided to secure more budget, they decided to be foxy about it. They spent their entire cutscene budget on one trailer, a really good-looking trailer, to build hype for the game, and use that hype to convince Nintendo to give them more money. Nintendo said no, so the cutscenes are recycled footage from the trailer. Interesting. We have a saying in Canada, you miss all the shots you don't take. Okay, luckily Samus's armor is vacuum sealed. Slinch 1A, another member of the Olympic Defensive Arsenal. This enormous cybernetic eyeball was engineered to protect sacred Olympic relics. The sludge attaches itself to the biodefense chamber with 3 synapses which transfer power to energy blasters. Its primary weapons are the green venom torpedo and the deuterium laser. I like how it has a pain noise for every individual hit that hits it. Energy blaster, turrets on the walls of the chamber fire blasts of plasma generated by the slinch. Slinch really does sound like the primary antagonist of a children's Christmas movie. Speedrun failed. I deliberately kind of threw it so I could scan those things. And it's dead. Was like, hold on, is there extra stuff to scan? Oh, there goes the slinch. And I'm now moderately confident that I know how the rest of this game's gonna go, more or less. Carbon analysis indicates octoliths are Olympic in origin. cannon holds the power. But yeah, I presume that, like, I go to a planet, I go through it fighting a hunter along the way, get a thing, go fight a boss, get another piece of octolith. Once I've got 8, I... Security protocol initiated, evacuate immediately. Once I've got all 8, I go to, like, the ancient sealed thing, blow it up. Oh god, I'm going to die in the Morphball maze. That's what's going to happen here. So I wonder if, like, all those doors that I'm seeing that open with specific weapons, I wonder if those are just, like, power-ups more so than, like, proper backtracking. Oh, hello. Weevil. Weevil's weapon of choice is the Battle Hammer, a heavy-duty repeating weapon with a lethal blast radius. Maintain distance and avoid a direct hit from this high-caliber weapon. Okay, looks like Weevil's fallen on hard times after losing a children's trading card game. Where's he gone? I think he's just dead. Oh, never mind, he's there. Now he's dead. The trading card joke was me implying that he's Weevil Underwood from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, oh, you lost a trading card game and then you had to be cybernetically augmented to survive. To be fair, after what Yuki did to him in a game where the monsters were explicitly made real, that does check out. I will save my game. I will watch my ship. I'm a little sad that I haven't stolen anybody's weapon yet. I thought that was, like, the whole point. Oh, I've got multiple options. Vesper Defense Outpost or Arctera. Well, the game wants me to go here first, so I'll go here first instead. In my ship there was, like, an equipped weapon thing, so, like, maybe that's how I do it? Or, like, been picking them up along the way without noticing? No, no weapons. If we go through your tech into the ocean, you probably throw them off the ship. Yeah, no, like... legit? I feel like he could probably, like, legitimately be, like, tried for, like, a federal crime for destroying Exodia. In that setting. Arctera, the outermost planet in the Olympic cluster, Arctera is an inhospitable wasteland noteworthy for a honeycomb of tunnels and caves within its frozen interior. Space Canada, my home and native land. With a voice of thunder shall the green wood burst into an orange blaze. So... a big explosion's gonna turn a forest planet into a molten thing, which is probably the planet I just came from. I'm in danger. Geemer, a small but dangerous creature that exposes sharp spikes on its back when threatened. This scavenger is known to forage through human refuse, and is an infamous pest on Zeebs. This is fine. This looks kind of like the hilt of Luke's lightsaber. I might be influenced by the background, though. I was actually just talking about Star Wars not long ago. Oh, hello. Oh, there's the sniper guy that I used to like to play on the demo when I was a kid. This emblem commemorates fallen Olympic heroes. Ow. Rude. Having fun over there. Well, he's dead. Nom. Now I just have to deal with getting sniped. If memory serves, the red guy's special thing is that if he stands completely still and doesn't do anything, he turns invisible. That guy up here was a kid, the one that I shot to death, or the guy that I am... or the red guy that I haven't dealt with yet. Oxy lock 6 of 6 deactivated. Okay, so presumably there are 5 others I have to turn off. Five of 6 deactivated. Orange blast shield, impervious to most weapons, superheated magma may damage it. If I had the magma, that would do it. Sniper man, gotcha. Oh, outside of the cutscene, I don't believe I've seen him yet. These levels, these maps, they kind of give me the same vibe as, like, Halo Combat Evolved multiplayer stages. Which, given that I'm pretty sure this game is just a bunch of multiplayer stages stapled together into, like, a cohesive campaign, makes sense. How am I to get up there? Oxy Lock 3 of 60 activated. 4 of 60 activated. Two of 6. Now I just gotta find 1 of 6. Damaged bridge. Structure has been severely compromised by impact. Decay indicates the damage occurred several hundred solar cycles ago. Okay, it looks like the last thing would be like there, but it would have fallen off and ended up down here, perhaps? That's where I came from, I'm pretty sure. Well, that works. It was like that grinding noise has to be something. Weapon that fires supercooled plasma might do the job there. Oxylock 1 of 60 activated. Oh, I could have just jumped up like this at any time, by the looks of it. Now I gotta figure out where the thing spawned in. My ability to identify things by their surroundings is not the strongest in the world. I feel like it's probably over here, though. Okay, that's just in front of the elevator. I know where that is. Artifact discovered. I didn't even wait to see what it was. I was just like, give, mine. It was probably just one of the 3 keys that I need. I presume that if I'm reading this right, I've got 2 of the 8 octoliths, and that's the first artifact of the 3 that I need for this area. I love the 3D map on the touchscreen. It's actually so cool. I love that. Like, I've always loved the Prime Series maps on a touchscreen. It's like, wow, incredible. I tried to do like a head-blown animation, but I'm holding the stylus, so it's kind of throwing off the hand tracking. Disabled jump pad. The jump pad is not receiving power. Electrostatic analysis suggests a blocked conduit in close proximity. This looks somewhat ominous. Vault door, not receiving power. Blocked transmission line nearby. UA expansion increases the universal animal capacity by 30 units. So, presumably I get my... Either I get my first gun soon, or when I get my electric gun, I can come back and grab that with it. Energy router B, controlling power to the rest of the network. If I ever plug something in and it explodes, I panic. It's actually happened before. Oh dear. Power partially restored. You know, like, things have blown up when I plugged them in more than once in my life. Thankfully not a huge number of times, but like, also a non-zero number of times. These look like green war wasps. Barbed war wasps. An aggressively territorial insect capable of launching its stinger as a projectile. The more dangerous cousin of the war wasp, barbed war wasps, tongue twisters, migrate in large swarms, attacking even the largest life forms in isolated regions of Talent 4. Now these things don't deserve missiles. Like how as I say that, they're just like, you want missiles? We got missiles. If you'd like to indulge. If they're like the ones on Talon 4, I need to take out the highs with missiles, so that's probably what it is. There we go. The jump pad is re-energized, but more importantly, the loot belongs to me now. How do I get in there? Let me in. I demand the loot. Vault door controls are operational. Missile expansion over there. Actually, I should probably scan this. Never mind, I can't. Blue barbed war wasp, a mutated form of the red barbed war wasp. The metabolism of the blue barbed war wasp requires a frozen environment to produce endothermic projectiles. Never made sense to me when like an ice thing had ice powers. It's like... Take Pokemon for example, like take like a fish knowing water gun. Like presumably they evolved to like hunt within their environment. But it's like, okay, I'm a fish and I can shoot water, so like... I'm gonna try and drown the other fish? That presumably was ammo. I think is probably the zappy thing. Judicator. It is not zappy, it is chilly. The Judicator is powered by cold fusion synthesis. It fires supercooled plasma at temperatures approaching absolute zero. Platform controls are online. I've never seen a water laser. Well, first of all, if it's a laser, it's not water. The L in laser stands for light. If you mean like a water cutter, they don't actually use water to cut. They actually mix silt in, and they just use the water beam to, like, propel the silt. I almost overshot that one. Judicator found. Okay, so this is a cold weapon. And it looks like I got 40 shots with it. Okay, first things first, let's get 40 shots with it. Now I got 70. Yeah, but like, if I'm a fish, and like I'm in a fishy environment, and like I want to become more dangerous, I'm not going to try and hone the powers of my water. I'm gonna be like, okay. Oh hey, more ammo, nice. I'm gonna be like, okay, can I learn how to use electricity? I do believe that's the second artifact. Ship portal activated. Fun fact, I once had a cousin, surprisingly not my brother for once. I once had a cousin who didn't believe the warnings when my aunt and uncle rented a power washer and decided to stick their finger into the blast because surely it couldn't be that bad. And it broke the bone in their finger. Let's see, what are we looking at here? Portal back to the ship there. I can go back over there and then go through the purple door with this. So let's go do that. It might have actually been their toe. They might have shot it at their foot. Point being, they disregarded the warning. I probably should go and, save my game slash refill my ammunition. I'll do that later. I'm shocked the aim is so smooth. I mean, I'm using an actual stylus and touchpad, so... I could smell an energy tank in the area. How to get a touchpad on the computer? You're the one assuming that I'm playing on an emulator. I'm very powerful. Oh, this looks like a thing I could hop up through. I've been wanting to do, like, DS stuff for a while. It's just a real pain to set up. There we go. It took a few tries, but it got done. I even found the thing right away. My power grows. I think that's the third artifact. Yeah, portal activated. Use the portal to access the inaccessible. So what I'll probably end up doing is swinging by my ship first. But shift memory serves. I don't need memory, I've got a map. Frost Labyrinth? That's the title for an area, alright. So that's where the boss is, and there's a portal to my ship directly underneath it, but I'm kind of interested in this Frost Labyrinth. Curiosity abounds. How do I get up there? Wait, isn't that where I just came from? No, that's through here. No, that's where I just came from. Okay, hold on. Never mind. Then there's a portal to my ship, SMH, why did the secure door close after I was done with it? I wanted to leave it open. That's the whole point of secure doors, is you leave them open. Yes, we swing by the ship, we restock on everything. That's the portal that goes to the boss. One that goes to the ship is right here. It was hiding from me, but I skillfully sniffed it out. And then the thing was... thing was in the opposite direction of the button that turns on the portal. So... up there. Ow, my bones. But I lived. I always love how much poise Samus has. Like, it doesn't matter what situation you put her in, she's like a panther. This is just another, this is another sludge. Sludge 2A. This revision of Olympic cyber defense technology features enhanced capabilities. The sludge attaches itself to the biodefense chamber with 3 synapses, which transfers superheated magma to the energy blasters. Bleeding venom torpedoes can be neutralized with the arm cannon. So, like, you just get the same bosses in order, regardless of, like, which order you go through the planets in, or... there are only 2 bosses. Oh. Well then. Well, I can get ammo, so I'm probably meant to use my freeze gun on this thing. Morphing Universal Ammo contains munitions nanotechnology engineered for instant adaptation to almost any weapon, altering caliber and composition at the molecular level to match the ballistic specifications of the host weapon. Let's try it. Yeah, that works. It's like you will use the new toy. That sounds an awful lot like Ridley's scream from Fusion. I'm glad I got all of the ammo capacity upgrades. Plus, yes, the charge shot visuals are great. I think I called it out in Prime 1, but I really appreciated how, in particular, when you overcharged the ice beam in that game, your cannon would freeze over. Okay, that should... never mind. Give. Think. I don't think I have enough shots to put it back into another vulnerable phase, so I probably need to shoot down some of its bullets for a while. Well, there's plenty of ammo. Okay, I can't just leave them docked forever. More ammo, please. More shots should break the synapses. And it's dead. And the third octolith is mine. And forevermore I can open purple doors. This is a very Final Fantasy coded cutscene, I feel. Not complaining though, I like Final Fantasy. Octolith acquired. Do not trust your senses, they deceive you. And security. Evacuate immediately. I was like, ah yes, I'll go fast. Oh no, my only weakness, a threshold. Oh, hold on, I need this. Give. Oh, shit. Pardon my French. Ugh. No, I want it. That's like 10 whole missiles. Let me out. What's his face? The sniper is still at large. Hey, look, it's what's his face? The sniper. You fool. Why would you give up that advantage? And he's dead. We want to go... not here, we want to go here, I think? I fell down in this room originally, luckily there's a staircase to get back up. Guardians. I like how the Olympics were like, yeah, our Guardians have got to have, like, really nice thighs. And they're dead. There we are. More dedicated to the job than competent at it. Honestly, I feel like if I were to hire somebody, that's the work ethic I'd want. Like, I don't expect any, oh, we're a family, I'm your highest priority nonsense, but like, if you're here to do a good job, like, I can train you to be more competent. I can't train you to have, like, a better attitude. Double save just to be certain. And we'll go to the one place as yet uninfected by capitalism. Space. Well, that's interesting. There's a indicator of like which enemies are in which places? Question mark? Like if I go back, what's his face is there? That's interesting. Anyway, we're actually gonna call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it each and every time. I'm really happy that my first ever DS stream has gone well. I was really worried that something would break, and I'm glad that it hasn't. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Sunday. The game is going to be Pikmin 2. The next time that I'm playing this game in particular is going to be on Monday. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night, and I hope to see you again. Good night.